Ready, set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineer. Goes around about the 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast, December 30th edition. As we get close to closing out 2024, we've got transfer portal news to talk about, some more targets for West Virginia, some more guys that have scheduled visits. We're going to cover those. And then, of course, we're going to talk a little WVU basketball. The Mountaineers beginning Big 12 play tomorrow. We're going to talk about that game against the Kansas Jayhawks. They're a tough one on the road to begin conference play, but we'll let you guys know our prediction for that game here towards the tail end of the stream. And, of course, joining me to help me do all those things, my co-host, Steven. What's going on tonight, bro?
Well, not a whole lot, man. Same old, same old. How you been doing, man?
Not too bad. I was surprised, kind of, quite frankly, today after that we didn't get any more news on any official announcements of a coaching hire. I thought we'd be coming on here talking about that tonight. So that was kind of like, I guess, the bad part of it. But the good part of it is, I had to work today. Tomorrow I'm off. And since we didn't get him today, we're certainly, probably going to get some coaching announcements tomorrow. And at least I'll be off work and be able to pop up here again if we need to do that. So that's the positive side of it, I guess. But yeah, I was surprised that we didn't get any, man.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I thought at the very least we'd get somebody in the secondary,
Yeah,
a spear
something.
coach,
Or at least some of the ones that have already been,
coach.
Reported. At least those get the official.
Right, at least the
those.
official, yeah, but nothing. It was pretty quiet today on all fronts. Really, the only kind of thing we got was Darren DeVries in his press conference talking about the basketball injury updates and things of that nature with the Zoom call that they have every Monday.
Yeah, I did get a chance. I listened to that at work. He doesn't really give much away on the injury front. He's playing it pretty close to the vest.
No, I'm hoping that's a good thing. I don't guess we know enough about how to read him yet, I guess, as a coach to know whether it could be a point toward a bad thing or good thing. But I don't know. You got to hope with Tucker that's not a lingering injury that's going to keep him out of conference play for too long. But Monty Hansberry didn't he go down in the Mercyhurst game? Yeah,
I think that he's supposed to be all good. So we'll see. Hopefully.
Okay. Well,
fingers
that's
crossed.
Yeah,
and we'll talk more about that upcoming game against Kansas momentarily. Definitely going to be a tough one, but West Virginia has shown that they can win some tough games this season. So we'll talk about that. But before we get there, we got to lead it off here with the transfer portal news. We got several pieces of transfer portal news we're going to talk about. Updates on some guys that were in the portal from WVU that have announced their destinations. We've got another guy that has decided to enter the portal from West Virginia. And then we have some really positive news that we've talked a lot about the targets I shared with you guys on last night's stream, the potential visitors list. And now we can add at least a couple names to that and potentially 3. So we're going to talk some transfer portal updates. But before we get into that, just want to remind everybody that's in here, appreciate you guys that are in here live. I see Leslie, It's Not Okay Golf, Eric, Kenny, Trey, James, all you guys that are in here live. Of course, share your thoughts in the chat. We'll try and touch up on some of those comments throughout the stream as well. Won't keep you guys too late tonight since we started this one a little bit later. But if you are in here watching live, or even if you're watching on the replay, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Helps a ton with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're a Mountaineer football fan, be sure to subscribe here to the channel. We'll be covering the transfer portal news, the roster building, the coaching staff building, all that good stuff throughout the offseason, and be able to chat with you guys in plenty of live streams here on the channel. If you're subscribed, you'll know when they're coming. So be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But let's talk a little transfer portal news here, Stephen. Let's lead it off with kind of the, I guess, negative side of it, because it was something that we talked about in one of the recent updates when we did a transfer portal update from the most recent entry that, of course, we knew came after Matt Moore went to Virginia Tech. And I was like, keep your eyes on VPI. And unfortunately, that's exactly where Kyle Altuner has decided to head, following Matt Moore, following Thomas Remack. And it hurts, us being in Mercer County down here in the southern part of the state, where you consider VT a bit bigger of a rival.
I literally had to drive right by it today.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's literally about, what was it, about
Yeah.
40 minutes from us, probably 45?
Yeah. And I mean, I literally drove right by it today. So, I mean, it's just right there.
Yeah, so a lot of Virginia Tech fans we had to deal with growing up and stuff around here. So they're a big rival. So, that's what I mentioned when Matt Moore went there. It was kind of his villain arc, but I hate the fact that he's doing a little bit of poaching as well, it seems, because, Remack was already, in the portal, I think, so I won't consider that one, but Altuner wasn't. Altuner enters the portal after Matt Moore leaves and then ends up going where he goes. So, not a big fan of that personally, and like I said, it hurts because I really had high hopes for Kyle Altuner. I think he's a really good offensive lineman, but he'll be playing at VT for his 4 years of eligibility, it looks like there, as it was announced here on social media today. Matt Zenitz of 247, I believe, was the first one to announce that. So that's the downside, but we have a lot of positive transfer portal news to talk about as well. A couple of guys that are confirmed for visits, and both of these two guys could help at the wide receiver position, which is something that we really need. One of them is Cam Thompson, a wide receiver from Northern Illinois. Matt Zenitz from 247 sharing this one. That he will be visiting WVU. I know he had a portion where he talked about the WVU side of the visit as well. I just had that up here. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up here. But he's also, you see the visits to Cal, visits to Mississippi State, but he is visiting WVU and sometime in that window as well. Yeah, here it is. I shared it without the quote tweet that was the important part for us. Was it this one? Yeah. Cam Thompson will also visit West Virginia next week, his agent tells me. But Cam Thompson from Northern Illinois had 28 catches this past year there at NIU, 8 for 128 yards and a touchdown against Ball State. And he also had a 91-yard kick return touchdown this year. So look out for him to maybe be a potential, special teams addition that could help in the return game. Yeah, but he will be coming to WVU for a visit. So we had that news. And then we also had news of this one that should excite a lot of people, because I know some people have been looking, man, we need to give some Power 5 guys. Where's the Power 5 guys? Well, here you go. Here's a Power 5 target for WVU that has been confirmed. Clemson transfer wide receiver Troy Stellato, scheduled to visit West Virginia on January 5th. Pete Nakos of On3 reporting this. Former 4-star high-rated player, 66 catches for 616 yards and 2 TDs, so good numbers while he was at Clemson. And got a good friend, shout out to Mikey, that's a big-time Clemson fan. So I reached out and asked him his thoughts on Stellato, and he said he's actually, really good, especially a really good route runner. He said the only problem that he had there at Clemson was he really just couldn't stay healthy. So, get him healthy, and we'll take him, and hopefully could be an addition. But another potential visitor there, so some new targets. And the last one comes from our friend Mountaineer Paul over at Locked On West Virginia, shared this one, which hasn't had the visit scheduled yet, but we're looking at another potential visitor, a potential target for WVU, and it's a big-time linebacker in the portal, Caleb Lavallee, high-rated linebacker there in the portal, really high ceiling. And Mountaineer Paul shared that Zach Alley is working to get him in, try and schedule a visit for him as well, which will be a big-time, pursuit there for West Virginia to go after. There is Lavallee out of the portal. I did see On3 has him crystal balled to Florida State already, so maybe there's some interest between Lavallee and there. But if we can get a visit scheduled and get him to Morgantown, I like our chances potentially. So with that being said, let me pull up the transfer list here, Stephen. And as I do, any thoughts there on the loss of Altuner to VT or the potential targets there in those two wide receivers?
Obviously excited about the wide receivers, especially, you know, if we're losing, you know, Hudson Clement and you know all the other guys that hit the portal, then you're going to need some of those. But losing Altoona hurts, man, and it even hurts worse whenever he goes to one of your biggest rivals like that. I know I've said in the past that it's kind of for myself, quote unquote, a friendly rivalry, but I don't know, it still stings. Still stings.
Yeah.
It's
It
not a
does.
friendly rivalry for everybody else. I mean that personally to myself because I've had family also go to Virginia Tech, so
Yeah, it's a weird relationship
can't-
with them at times.
yeah. Like it's really weird because I really hate them when we play them, but if we don't play them, then I don't root against them as much as I do Pitt. I guess I'll say.
I get that.
But now I probably will.
Now you kind of got to, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. But then the other one, I forgot to share the report on this one before I go back to the transfer portal tracker there. But there is some things we need to highlight, and that is another entry that happened today. Of course, not as impactful as some of the others, but it was, maybe an offensive lineman that could have helped down the line. Freshman last year, Justin Terry, he had redshirted, but Chris Anderson of 247 putting out today that he has entered the portal as well. So did have, a late entry there. West Virginia's players have through tomorrow since, the firing happened on the 1st. They get 30 days. So not out of the woods just yet. And sometimes it takes a couple days for the paperwork to get in. So I'd say maybe about the 1st or 2nd, if we don't have any more entries, we're kind of know where we stand as far as players leaving in this window until the next window in April. But Justin Terry joins the list there of the transfers out for West Virginia, some of which have already announced their destination, as you see there in the transfer portal tracker. And of course, we have a handful of commits already to WVU that we've covered in previous transfer portal updates that I'm sure you guys already know. But the main thing I wanted to share here was the upcoming visitors list. Now that we've added a couple more names to this list, and obviously didn't add the linebacker Caleb Lavallee there yet because, as Mountaineer Paul mentioned in his tweet there, they're working to get the visit. It hasn't been scheduled yet, so if and when it does, get scheduled, we can maybe add him here as well. But for now, we've added Cam Thompson and Troy Stellato, which I think would be good additions for WVU. So upcoming visitors for the Mountaineers in the next couple of weeks. Kicker Ethan Head from Tulane, safety Jordan Walker from Chattanooga, Marcus Watson Trent from Georgia Southern, Adam Tomczyk from the JUCO ranks there, Cerritos Community College, Matt Henry from Western Illinois, James Joncom from Eastern Michigan, William Whitlow from Memphis, CJ Doggett from Ohio, running back Draylon Washington from Louisiana, and then, of course, the two wide receivers we just talked about there, Cam Thompson and Troy Stellato. As I'm going to pull up their profiles on ESPN, Stephen, but any thoughts there on the transfer update?
We finally got one that's from a power conference school. Ready to come visit in Stellato, so that's I guess a plus. Not to say that those other, Rich is a great evaluator of talent. That's we've been saying that all along, but so I trust his judgment on some of these lower, group of 5 guys that he's going for. But it's nice to see some power conference players on there also. Hopefully you start to see some more Oklahoma players pop up on that list.
I was about to say, hopefully in the near future we'll be talking about that on one of the next transfer portal updates is some of those Sooners maybe following Zach Alley. But here's a look at Cam Thompson. He is from, like I said, Northern Illinois, 6 foot 198. He was a sophomore this past year, had 391 yards, 3 touchdowns, also had the 91-yard kick return that we talked about. And then, of course, the other target, Troy Stellato, really put up good numbers there at Clemson. When he was healthy, sounded like injuries were kind of one of the main issues, but performed well when he was healthy. He's 6 foot 190, originally from Florida. You see overall this season he had 264 yards and a touchdown. Throughout his whole time there, it was over 600 yards receiving those. You see 337 yards in 2023 as well, and has scored in both seasons. So could be a good pickup. We know West Virginia needs to add receivers, so keep an eye on both of those two guys. But that's what I had for the transfer portal update portion. Other than that, we're going to switch gears and talk about some basketball. But before we do that, we'll catch up on some of your all's comments. And I did want to share some details on Zach Alley's contract, but I got to wet my whistle in the meantime, Stephen.
Might do the same here in just a second. My mouth's getting kind of dry also.
Yeah, man, it doesn't take long for it to get a little dry, but
you've been doing all the talking. I don't know why my mouth's dry.
Mike Kazaza from Ear Sports did share on their site some details about Zach Alley's contract just to wrap up the football chatter here now that we've done the transfer portal update before we switch gears and talk a little basketball after we catch up with you guys in the chat. But Zach Alley's contract, according to Mike Kazaza, 3-year deal, $4.5 million, $1.5 million salary per year is $600,000 more than an assistant at WVU has ever been paid before, he says. So I just wanted to share those little details that he did put up on their site. So that's that, but let's get to some comments.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't realize it was 600,000. I knew it was significantly larger than any paycheck previously, but for an assistant coach, but I didn't know it was that much larger.
That's crazy. But I love the fact that happened just because it shows that they were serious when they were talking about, putting some money behind, getting Rich Rod back and making us a contender, because it completely flips, where we were with what we were paying, the staff previously versus what we're going to be paying them now. And especially at coordinator there, like we said, biggest contract ever for a coordinator at WVU. And I think it's like top 25 in the country, I believe, is what Kazaza went on to mention in that article as well. And we're in the top half, top quarter of the Big 12, which is where we want to be. Yeah.
And what's wild is I believe Oklahoma, if the report that I seen was correct, offered him, I think, 1.6. So they offered him more than we gave him, Yeah,
that's what I heard. They were trying to match it, and then he still ended up choosing us. So
you got to believe it's the full autonomy of the defense that brought him here.
I think so. I think so, man. James Weekly says, "Happy New Year's Eve here on the eve of New Year's Eve." Appreciate that,
you
James.
too, sir.
Leslie, what's going on? Hey, Leslie, appreciate you.
How are you?
It's not okay. Golf says all the climb trusters are going to overdose on crow. They'll be eaten when we dominate the Big 12 in 2025. Hey, hopefully, man. Hopefully so. Because we're ready to hold the rope now.
So. Hey, man, we've been holding the rope.
Edge.
Spotting the ball, yeah. Hard
all
edge.
That. All of them. Whatever saying you want to use.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of them, man. There might even be new ones. I mean, why are we so limited to just those three? I mean, he might have came up with new ones along the way.
Yeah, I did say he does have another one. That one he talked about, it earned success, I think, is his other new one that he talked about. It was on his Twitter and stuff too. So hey, we might as well throw that one in there when we're talking about it as well.
Hey, we're gonna get some In Rod We Trust shirts going on again.
I mean, may as well.
They used to have back in the day.
May as well bring it all back.
I mean, we got to bring back the whole theme, man. We got to complete nostalgia.
That's right.
I vote we even take the video board off that one side. We go back to the old style lights.
Take the paint off the walls. Go back to
the bathrooms. It's to change the bathrooms in the men's room to those troughs instead of the single toilet.
Yeah, we just all got to stand there together again like we used to.
You got to go in there to get heat on those cold games in November and December.
Oh,
not anymore because it doesn't even get that cold anymore. But
I did that during the one of the rain delays of the couple we had this year. I went into one of the bathrooms like, oh yeah, I'm just going to chill in here.
That's crazy. We've had so many rain delays in the last few years.
It's insane. Never seen anything like it. Trey Edwards says alternative tech hurts, as we definitely agree with you.
Yes, it does.
George Edwards says he's hearing they're trying to get Tucker injury redshirt. Not sure if it's 100% true though. I hope not, man. I hope not, because one, I mean, he's played so much. I don't know if they'd be able to give it to him, and two, we really need him if we want to, have some success in the Big 12.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if need is the correct word there. I think that we've played, exceptionally well. I know that it's not been against the best brand of competition, I understand, but we played exceptionally well without him being on the floor since he's been out. With that being said, it definitely, absolutely does take a big blow to the team with him being out because he's such a dominant force. But I don't know, man. If they were able to get him a medical red shirt, I don't even know, would he choose that? With such a promising pro career,
Yeah, I don't know. What I was saying, would he want to come back for another year? That's a good question.
That's what I'm saying. Why does he want to come back, risk more injury, or you want to go get paid? You're still gonna get paid here, but paid.
Oh yeah, paid millions potentially. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm anxious to see what happens there because part of me was hoping that maybe they were just holding him out for those, 2 or 3 games we just played because, they saw we're playing, hey, we're playing Mercyhurst, we're playing, such and such. Maybe he can get healthy right there before we start Big 12 play, and maybe he'll play against Kansas. That's what the most optimistic side of me is thinking. And then I think, maybe that's best case scenario. And then I think worst case is what, George is mentioning there, that he doesn't come back at all. So I don't know. And we really could be anywhere in between because we have absolutely no clue. Like we've talked about with Coach DeVries, really keeping it close to this. We really have no idea.
Yeah, we really have no idea. I mean, I've seen reports of that also, that he's could possibly medically redshirt. Now those I haven't seen any official reports from anybody that really, I don't know how, I guess like anybody on Twitter, I guess I should say, like going crazy about it.
Major source or anything like that, right?
Yeah, major sources, I guess I should say. But I don't know, man. I don't know. You got to hope that if he's going to be out, then Amani Hansberry is at least going to be able to be ready to go. And Javon Small can at least carry some of that load because he's been balling. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys
sure.
have, but he especially.
That's for sure. Yeah, he's having a special year. Hopefully that continues. We'll see what happens with it. Kenny Evans, channel member here, says, since Sooner Nation is ticked because we got Allie, we can give them Neil Brown. Yeah, y'all can take Neil Brown in exchange. That's fine.
I don't know if
he's a free agent. He's a free agent. Liam Wright says, any news on Cam Vaughn from Jack State? No, he's going to visit Tulane, but haven't heard anything else. No, just wait and see right now. Like I said, it's the dead period for another couple of days. I believe his visit to Tulane's on the 2nd or 3rd. So I'm sure after he gets through that visit, I believe he may have another one coming up or so. We'll learn something on him, middle of January there, by that, sometime in that second week of January. I'd say we'll know for sure where he's going, and fingers crossed he does come to WVU. You guys know, way up there on my potential target list. We'll see what happens.
Got to start getting some guys in the next few days.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. I think we'll see some commits start rolling in with those upcoming visitors. This first week of January and second week of January. That big group that we showed there, I think there's kind of split up, some coming that first week, some coming that second week. So I think we're on commit watch here, starting, January 2nd, January 3rd, probably.
Yeah. And then so on and so forth, because, you got a lot of visits scheduled the 3rd, 4th, 5th. I'm sure that they're, going to keep scheduling those out accordingly too.
Oh yeah, definitely going to keep it up. We're going to see ton of new players coming in, and it's going to be fun to cover them all, and we'll continue to cover them all here, guys. So just stick with us throughout that process. H-Bar Farkle, channel member, who says, my caveat will be, don't disappoint if we end up 6-6 the first season with Rich Rod. Ton of changes, and it takes time to work it all out. In his opinion, 2026 is the year for possible Big 12 title. Yeah, I've tempered my expectations not to think, we're going to compete for a conference title right away or anything. I think what you're saying there about the 6-6 H-Bar Farkle, to me, that's got to be, like the floor. Like, bowl game is at least, there's no really, year 0 period or anything like the previous staff had to endure where things were with them. I think where things are with what Rich Rod's taken over, got to at least make a bowl game in year 1. But yeah, you got to give the benefit of the doubt still yet in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we're expecting to blow the doors off in year 1. I think that we're just optimistic in some ways, loosely optimistic, I should say, because of what other teams have been able to do in complete non-connection to WVU whatsoever. And, like Indiana was able to turn it around with 40 new players on their roster in year 1. And Colorado was able to do it. I mean, I know they didn't, do that great last year, but from what they were the previous year to that, I mean, they really turned things around. So
true. It can be done. I don't know.
It can be done, but absolutely, I'm staying realistic in year 1 with this one, because I put on my gold and blue glasses too many times with Neil Brown and gotten proven why I should just keep my mouth shut when it comes to football sometimes, I guess. But
hey, that's part of it, though. When you come on here and you come on here and talk, sometimes, unfortunately, you are wrong, and then you got to be like, hey, I was wrong. It sucks.
Yep. Yeah.
And
And
Neil Brown, but a
we're
lot of
wrong a
people are
lot,
wrong
but
on Neil Brown, so it is what it is.
hey, we're wrong. I'm wrong. I can't say we're wrong because I don't know. I don't keep track of everybody else's as much as I guess I keep track of mine because I'm like, man,
All right.
I really thought I had that one right. But there's some seasons that I really didn't think I was going to be that accurate. That ended up being pretty darn close.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes you
Didn't
feel
really get
super
the game of the
confident,
record.
and then it goes the opposite way. Kind of like this year, felt super confident, went the opposite way, and then other years where you just kind of feel like you're taking a shot in the dark, and that ends up being the one where you're most accurate. It's such a
Yeah.
crapshoot.
Yep. This is
It
how it is,
really is.
man. That's how it is. You never can predict anything in sports. That's
For sure. All right, so I appreciate you guys that have tuned in and chimed in. You guys got any other questions, comments, throw them in there. We'll try and touch up with you guys one more time before we wrap this up. But we got to talk a little WVU basketball, guys. We've been teeing it up and teasing it for a couple of streams now and told you guys we would preview the game before they play Kansas. And now we're less than 24 hours away. That game coming up at 2 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN Plus. So we're going to preview that game, and we're going to talk a little bit about it and give our kind of predictions on it. But before we get there, I did want to share this on the basketball side that was going around today in case you guys may have seen it. The game promotions here for the West Virginia games here in the conference slate were announced. Of course, you got the Gold Rush January 7th against Arizona, Jerry West Day against Iowa State on January 18th, which is pretty awesome. They're going to honor, of course, the late, great Jerry West. You got Stripe the Coliseum in basketball on January 29th. The Coal Rush for the basketball team is going to be February 8th. True Blue, February 11th. Then you get another Gold Rush on February 19th, and then Senior Day on March 8th there to wrap up the regular season. Pretty cool.
Man, I think it's awesome. Did they unveil a black basketball uniform yet? Did I miss that?
I don't
or
think
was
that they've
is
shown
this
it. I don't
the
think they've shown it yet.
I was going to say because I figured this I believe is the first confirmation that we've gotten that the black uniforms are coming back to WVU basketball. So that's one thing that I'm really excited about. The second thing I guess first and foremost thing that I'm excited about is the January 18th Iowa State game because I'll be going to that one.
Hey, you're going to be there.
Get me one of those pennants. Yeah, man. If any of you guys going to getting up there to Morgantown for any of the basketball games this year?
Oh, and guess what else is that day, Steven? I just remembered.
What?
They're wearing the throwbacks that day.
Which game? The Jerry West Day?
Yeah, that's why the graphics in that different color blue and stuff because they're wearing those. I forgot about
cool.
that.
I'll be wearing mine also, so I'll match them.
Yeah, you'll be matching, man. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. We can see them break those back out.
Man, that's gonna be so awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have that Jerry West. Where's my finger at? Yeah, I'm gonna put that Jerry West pennant right there beside Jerry West. I don't know if y'all ever noticed that when you're watching this stream, but that's my favorite piece on the wall back there, man. That's the old NBA logo. That's what I really want to get is an NBA logo put up there.
Oh yeah, that'd be sick. You could get
wouldn't it be cool?
Like
I
one
thought
of
about
them
this
that's in
earlier.
like gold and blue. That'd be sick.
That would be cool. Yeah. Well, speaking of, would it not be cool? Now I know like that it's licensing and all that, but would it not be cool since Jerry West is the logo? West Virginia could use the NBA logo on their jerseys, like as a patch somewhere.
Oh, I'd like it. I'd be game for it.
I mean, it obviously probably wouldn't go over well with the Adam Silver and the NBA.
I don't think they'd never let you do it, but hey, that'd be sick.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, is that a strange idea? Is that weird? But I think I like it.
That's our guy.
That's our guy. He did play here.
That's right. That's right. So wanted to touch on that, and then we're going to get to the game preview. But I see we got a super chat popping up here from WVU Wildman 82 with the $4.99 super chat. Really appreciate that a lot. WVU Wildman 82 always coming in and dropping some knowledge and some support, and we really appreciate that a lot. He said, "Is it 9/13/24? Happy New Year's to everyone. Spot the damn ball. Hey, can't get here soon enough, man. Eat shit pit.
Eat shit pit, man.
Appreciate you, WVU Wildman.
That's gonna be a fun game. I was just talking about that one earlier.
The lead up is going to be fun too. I can't wait to see the lead up of Rich Rod and Narducci.
Yeah, man. Well, that's what I was telling him, man. I don't think he's seen the video of Neil Brown going out to midfield and basically acting like he's Narducci's best friend out there. Shaking hands with him and smiling and laughing.
Oh God.
You will not see Rich Rodriguez do that. I was telling him about how Rich Rodriguez used to lift weights with the football team back in the day, and they'd be like, "Rich, why are you lifting?" He's He's like, I won't be ready to fight somebody unless they want to meet me at the 50.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
That's right. Rich is always ready.
So man, that's what I miss about Rich, man. He's always ready to go. And I promise you that week's gonna be. I was telling him, you know, there's been a lot of times over the last however many years that people are like, man, this is probably going to be like another LSU type of. I mean, we're guilty of it. You know, this is going to be one of the best atmospheres in however many years, and this and that. And it almost always to myself, because I just remember how loud it was and how crazy it was in those, you know, in that era. And to me, I mean, other than the LSU game, the stadium really hasn't touched it in a lot of ways, being on that, you know, that scale of things in terms of loudness, in terms of rowdiness. It even feels like it, for the Penn State game this year, as amped up as everybody was, it seemed, for that game.
It didn't live up to the hype.
It did not. I mean, crowd-wise to me and play-wise, it did not.
The people were there, but
the
the noise and stuff wasn't.
Yeah, and I don't believe. To me, I'm being honest. I don't believe it's the fault of the fans. I believe that we knew what we were getting. Right. Like.
Oh yeah. I mean, we had dealt with 5 years of that
once
Neil Brown.
Well, I mean, like a half a quarter in, we seen what we were getting, so it was like, okay, we're the same old.
After the first quarter, it was done, man. It was done in there. I
think this Pitt game, man, especially if the first two games go, you know, as well as we think and hope they're going to go. I can't help but believe, why wouldn't it be as rowdy and chaotic as it was? Or do you think it'll be like, it'll take a year of us really like showing that we're there and then playing them in November for it to be that type of an atmosphere?
No, I think it's right off the bat, man. It's going to be all-timer.
I think so too.
All-timer atmosphere right off the jump. Yeah, I can't wait. Man. Can't get here soon enough. Thanks for reminding us, WVU Wildman 82, and letting us think about it again, because every time I think about it, I get a little bit of chills for that game on 9/13, for sure.
There's so much stuff in between that I'm so excited for too, and I keep thinking about that as well, man.
I know.
I've been trying to talk Cruz into going to the coaches caravan with me over here at Glade Springs, man, in May. And if y'all haven't got those tickets, man, get your tickets, because I'm telling you, man, that's a fun event. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been. I'm sure some of you have, but that's a cool event, man. You get to go eat dinner and meet all the coaches, and literally like shake hands and talk with Rich and probably Darren DeVries, Steve Savins. I would imagine probably all the big top name coaches, but be a fun time. But I got all kinds of stuff to look forward to, and all I can think about is that Pitt game.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. It's gonna be long, 9 months or 8 months, I guess now, getting close to in the lead up. So super excited for that and for everything else that'll come up, WVU football along the way. But let's talk a little hoops. Before we get into the game itself, I don't know if you saw this. A little bit of trouble in the lead up to the game. Obviously, if we weren't having enough trouble battling injuries, Blue Gold News sharing today the flight for the Mountaineer men's basketball team, which was slated for this afternoon, had to be delayed because of mechanical difficulty to the charter plane. So they weren't sure at that time if WVU was going to be able to take off tonight, or if the delay would force them to depart in the morning. And of course, a 2 p.m. tip that pretty much get them, there, and probably having to go like right into warm-up. So hopefully they were able to still get there later tonight. This was, of course, around 5 p.m. today, but a little bit of trouble heading into the game. So hopefully the Mountaineers made it safe and on time and aren't heading out in the morning for that 2 p.m. tip, which is the game we're gonna talk about there. But that's pretty crazy.
There's two things that's weird about that to me. One, I'm pretty sure that's happened specifically for this game before. West Virginia had troubles with the plane when they had to travel out to Lawrence, Kansas to play that game, and it was around like a noon or 2 o'clock tip-off, and it caused issues for West Virginia, and they were very fatigued by the end of the first half, and still competed in that game. You could tell they were gassed. I can't remember what year that was, but the other thing that's weird about that to me is the Gonzaga team basketball plane almost got T-boned by another plane today.
I just saw that right before we started the stream. I saw the
clip. I mean, so that's absolutely strange.
A lot of weird stuff going on with planes today.
Yeah, and with basketball teams, college basketball teams,
and with UFOs, but that's a whole nother subject.
we don't want to get on.
We don't have to dive down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
we'll get into the game. We'll get into the game. I promise, guys. All right, let's talk a little bit about both these two teams, West Virginia and Kansas. Of course, Big 12 play about to begin. Like we said, it's tomorrow on 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus, which we won't get into again. We've talked about it not making any sense the whole time, but let's take a look at Kansas this season. Their individual stats here. Obviously, Hunter Dickinson, one to watch, leads them in points, rebounds, and blocks. You see 15.5 points on the year, 10 rebounds, a steal and a half, and a block and a half per game. And then a new addition for them is Mayo, and he's been able to really light it up for them at guard. He can shoot all over the court, nearly 14 points per game for him, and you see nearly 40% from the three-point line. They still have DeJuan Harris, who is great, dishing out the ball on offense and really great on the defensive end, nearly 2 steals per game as well. Still have KJ Adams there. They've also added Stores and some other new players that, of course, Kansas always going to have a ton of firepower, but those are some of the guys that you will see in the starting lineup and that you probably are more familiar with. And then, of course, the leaders for the Mountaineers, as we were talking a bit about Javon Small, and he's really doing a phenomenal job, not only scoring, as far as being WVU's leader, but he's up there in the Big 12 Conference, currently nearly 20 points per game, 19.7. He's also averaging 5 assists and 2 steals. Tucker DeVries was averaging right at 15 points per game. Like I said, his status up in the air. We don't know if we'll see him or when we'll see him back, but we will see on Monty Hansberry. It is expected that he's going to be good to go. Which is good because he's the other double-figure scorer right now, over 10 points per game, over 6 rebounds to lead the Mountaineers in the rebound category. And then, of course, the other players, Toby Oconee with 9 a game, Jonathan Powell with 8 a game, and then you get into some of the other bench scorers. And, of course, shout out to Eduardo Andre leading the team in blocks still yet with over 2 per game. And then the matchup itself, as far as the teams are concerned here, points per game, pretty close to even. West Virginia averaging 77.5, Kansas averaging 79. And then points that they're giving up, West Virginia giving up 64, Kansas giving up 66. Field goal percentage, West Virginia at 44, Kansas right at 50%, shooting the ball really well on the season. Kansas 38 rebounds a game, West Virginia 37. Blocks, West Virginia actually more than Kansas. It's been so surprising West Virginia's done blocking the basketball despite not having a lot of height. 6 blocks per game for WU to 5 for Kansas. And West Virginia 8 steals per game. Kansas 7 steals per game. West Virginia comes in on a 5-game streak. Kansas in on a 2-game streak. Having beat NC State and Brown, but they have lost a couple of times back in early December to Creighton and to Missouri. So they are vulnerable. Both teams coming in at 9-2, but Kansas ranked number 7 in the country as far as the spread. As I pull up DraftKings currently at the time we're streaming here, Kansas favored by 13. So some of the numbers there, Stephen. But what are kind of your thoughts on this game as West Virginia takes on the Kansas Jayhawks? 13-point spread. Give me kind of your breakdown. Do you think they covered, and what's your prediction ultimately for the game tomorrow at 2 o'clock against the Jayhawks?
Well, first of all, I mean, these two teams on paper, surprisingly enough, match up pretty darn well. If you ask me, the points against West Virginia's holding their teams to what was it? I think 6 points fewer, or was it 3 points fewer? 3 points fewer than what Kansas has been, and they've been, like you said, playing good defense and getting block shots and getting rebounds. I've said that before. The rebounds that we get, it seems like watching this team. At times, I'm like, gosh, we don't do a good job of rebounding the ball. And then at the end of the game, we out-rebound the other team almost every single time I think that. So, it's like really undercover.
Quietly grabbing them.
Yeah, really quietly grabbing them. And I guess that's a good thing. But with that being said, I want to wear my gold and blue glasses so much right now and pick West Virginia to go out there and shock a lot of people and beat them out there. But I don't know if a lot of you guys know this. But Lawrence, Kansas, specifically Allen Fieldhouse, is not just a hard place to play. It is statistically the hardest place to play in major sports, not college athletics, not American athletics. That includes all pro-level sports in the world. Their win percentage versus their win-to-loss ratio in Lawrence, Kansas is the best statistical ratio in all of major sports, if you can believe that. As much as I want to believe that West Virginia can go out there and win, I'm still optimistic, obviously, but I don't know if West Virginia can go out there and do it. I think we can give them a game. We went out there and we've pushed them to overtime a few times, I believe. I know at least once. We usually do really well against them in Morgantown, but that place out there, man, it's something about that crowd and that atmosphere that really does something to opposing teams. And I think Kansas is also still a very good basketball team. Unfortunately, I don't think West Virginia's going to be able to get the job done out there, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm right there with you. Like I said, if it's in Morgantown, maybe a different story. We've beaten Kansas plenty of times in Morgantown, but one of the toughest places to play in college basketball, as you mentioned. And I think with Tucker's status up in the air, it worries me. Now, if he ends up playing, maybe all bets are off. We'll see what happens. But I will say, just to bring a bit of positivity to it, I think the 13-point spread to me is a little bit much. I think West Virginia will cover that. If I was to put a number on it, I would say something like 81-72. Kansas maybe will win this game. So I'd have it a little bit under that. I think maybe you get single digits. Yeah.
I didn't know if you want to score. Oh, I'll give you a
may as well. If
prediction.
you want
going
to.
80, you said 81-72?
I'd say 81-72. I'm thinking something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around that. I'll say 83-76.
I like it. So, yeah, see, we both think that they can at least keep it, within single digits. And if they're able to do that, you always can have a chance there at the end when you're coming down the wire in a basketball game. And I think one thing that Darren DeVries has shown here being at WVU, despite, who he has, who he doesn't have, whether he has not a ton of depth, whether he has not a ton of height, he's going to be able to, make do with what he has and find a way to be competitive in these basketball games, despite everything going against him. And that's been the case every game this year, save for one. And hopefully that remains the case here with that game coming up against Kansas tomorrow. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if West Virginia does go out there and push them to overtime, because I mean they showed me something down in that tournament that they played in, man. They in Nassau. That was a good basketball team that we've seen down there, and they played 3 good basketball teams and pushed all of them to overtime. So, with that being said about how tough it is to play out in Lawrence, Kansas, if they can go out there and win, it'll show me a lot about what this team is moving forward. So I'm hoping to see something.
Yeah. I think that if they're going to go out there and win, you're going to have someone, step up kind of unexpectedly and have a big game, because, you're expecting Javon Small and Amani Hansberry to probably play well. And I think that they could potentially have an effect on this game. You look at the game against Gonzaga where they had the one big man that they ended up having to bench because, pulling Amani Hansberry out in those pick and rolls with Javon Small was just such a mismatch for him. So can they do that again with Hunter Dickinson? But if you do that and you have your 2 guys going, you get Small and Hansberry going, eventually Kansas is going to say, okay, those guys aren't beating us anymore. So who's going to be that third guy to step up in this game, give West Virginia a chance down the stretch? Is it Jonathan Powell? Is it, Toby Akani? Yesufu? Plenty of candidates there, but West Virginia's going to have somebody, I think coming off that bench that makes some big plays in this game if you're going to go in there to Allen Fieldhouse and, try and steal a win.
Yeah, if not a couple of them. But that's a good thing about it is you've had a lot of those guys that you just mentioned and a couple of others step up at random times whenever they've needed to and provide that boost and that spark. And that's really been, the most impressive thing about this team is, they have not just 1 or 2 guys that can really get hot. They've got a few guys that are, and, Jonathan Powell, a lot of those guys are really, really young. They're freshmen, so that's the most impressive thing about that to me. But at least one of those guys are going to have to come off the bench and be able to provide a spark. But most importantly, I think we're going to have to get some blocks. We're going to have to play some defense and get rebounds. That's the most important thing. Absolutely make shots, but the rest of that is the most important part of it all to me.
It's major, especially Kansas when you got Dickinson and you got Adams. Both those guys block shots, rebound basketball. So for sure, major key there. Yeah. So that's kind of our thoughts. We'll see some of your alls in the chat here. We'll get ready to wrap up before too much longer. I said we don't want to keep you guys too long here with it being late. But William Burleson says West Virginia 72, Kansas 67, and Eduardo Andre will dominate their big man. I like the optimism.
I hope so.
I like it, William.
I hope so, because I don't like his attitude. He's a good basketball player, but he seems like he's always getting into a fight with somebody.
Yeah, he's angry.
Yeah, he is. He's an angry guy.
Their big man is solid, Eric. Dickinson's really, really good player. $500 confidence on the spread. I think West Virginia might cover, but I'm nowhere near that confident. I wouldn't put no.
I don't think I'm that confident either.
maybe 5 or 50, but
Listen, I'll tell you guys a story. One time when I was in the 7th grade, West Virginia was 10-0. Okay. And I was so confident in this basketball team. This kid said to me, I'll bet you $50 that West Virginia's going to lose the next game. And I was like, I'll take that bet all day. And that game was against Villanova. And they beat us by, I'm pretty sure, like 35 points.
dang.
Straight whooped us, boots to ass, you know. And I told myself right then and there, I will never bet on the Mountaineers ever again. I considered it bad luck, and I've never done it since.
Hey, I don't blame you then. Got to keep our superstitions with the Mountaineers, but that's pretty much all I had, man. Talk some transfer portal, talk some WVU basketball. Any final thoughts before we close up shop?
Nope. Hopefully we get some more portal news, more coaching hire news tomorrow.
Yep. We'll be back to talk about it if so. As the roster builds, staff builds will be covered here. You guys be sure, whether you're watching live or on a playback, hit the like button before you head out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you didn't get a chance to chat live, throw your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate those interactions. As always, for my co-host Steven, I'm Jordan Cruz. And until next time, let's go Mountaineers.